So look, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. I've known you for a few years now, but I actually don't know much about what you're up to now. You're over stateside, so appreciate you joining us. But do you want to give the listeners kind of a bit of a heads up of your background in amateur golf, professional golf, and what you're up to now?
Yeah, pretty normal. Uh, That's a normal introduction to for someone that plays golf professionally. I guess I started playing very young. Got a set of clubs when I was 9, and started going to the golf course and having lessons. And yeah, I got better. I was playing other sports alongside it for a good while, until I got to about 16 or so. I broke my shoulder playing rugby, and that was a bit of a turn or a decision that had to be made at that point, which way I wanted to go, because the broken shoulder rugby injury meant 3 or 4 months out of golf. And I was, at the time, I was kind of on the fence whether to go with rugby down the rugby road or golf. I was playing rugby for Devon, and golf for Devon, my county. So I chose golf. I don't really know fully like what the exact reasons why I went in that direction, but I did.
What was your handicap around that point?
At 16, I would have been 1 or 2, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so decent.
I was good, but I wasn't in the England team or anything at that stage. No, I was, like I said, I was playing for Devon, but and playing some of the national tournaments. McGregor Trophy is the English under 16s. I think I was playing in that. Yeah, and then I wasn't really sure where I was going, honestly. At 17, 18, I was doing my A-levels. School didn't really talk to me particularly, honestly. I've always been capable of learning, very, very capable of learning, but I had to be interested in this in it. I've never been great at being told what I should do, or if someone told me what I was going to do, I wanted to know why I had to do that. And honestly, my instinct would probably be to do whatever the opposite of, of what they were saying was. So anyway, I didn't get the best A-level results. Probably not what anyone would have said I was capable of getting. And so university in England, or what I would have wanted to do at university in England, wasn't really available to me. I could have gone to university in England, but it would have been to do something that I wasn't really that interested in, probably. So after A-levels, I started working at Nando's.
Classic golf moves.
And it worked well, because usually my shifts would start at like 5 in the evening, like 5 p.m. I'd work till midnight. I'd go to golf all day in the daytime. All I had to do was be at work by 5. So it worked quite well. I was playing amateur golf, playing all the kind of the bigger national tournaments. And then not long into that, sorry, it might have been, it was about 8 months or so into that, I got a message from a friend of mine I played golf against he played for Somerset, I played for Devon, and we played against each other growing up. Message from him asking my brother, it was actually directed at my brother, a couple of years younger than me. Does he want to go to university in States? My brother actually had another year of school left, so he would have had to wait another year. And I was like, well, how about me? I'll come. And luckily they were keen on that idea. I spoke to my dad about it. He said, how much is it going to cost? And I said, they're saying it's going to be free, apparently. They're going to give me a full scholarship. And my dad said, okay, go for it then. Why not? So I did. Because I ended up taking 2 years in between high school and going to college. So I only played 3 years of college golf as opposed to 3. I went to university over there for 4 years, which is customary. I only played 3 years. I had 3 years of eligibility for the NCAA, because I was deemed to have used a season of eligibility, having taken 2 years off between high school. They don't like people taking too long off, because they say that it gives you an unfair advantage to to go and play full-time golf essentially for a few years before you start.
So this was at the University of South Florida?
So I went to a university called Bethune-Cookman first, which is a smaller school in Daytona Beach, Florida. Played very well there. I won 7 tournaments in 2 years, I think, which is quite, not many people do win that many. So it was it was a big fish, small pond situation, I guess. And that was kind of evident after playing 1 year there, but because they'd been very good to me and given me a scholarship for that first year I was there, where I was at the university but not playing tournament golf, they gave me a full scholarship even for that year. So I kind of felt like I owed the coach 2 years of my time almost, and I did do that. And then I played my last year at University of South Florida, and that was they were a better team, and they were playing in much bigger tournaments against the best golfers, the best college golfers in the country at the time, which was great.
Oh, I was going to say, it sounds like a great experience. What was your golf like at that time in terms of, I suppose, your performance, your ability? And then can you give people an insight into what did the training look like and what did your days look like? Because we hear a lot about the American collegiate system.
Yes. Yeah, golf was, obviously, won 7 tournaments at the previous school. It was good. Yeah, I was playing really, really well. I was hitting my driver very, very well. I hit it straight. I was hitting it like a short and straight person, hitting out that many fairways, but hitting it 310, 20 yards. And golf's it's kind of easy when you do it a little bit. It's difficult to make bogeys when you've got wedges from the fairway all the time. I wasn't even that great with the wedge, but like I said, I hit it on the green at least, and then I was a good putter. So
nice.
Yeah, I was playing well then. When I transferred to this University of South Florida, there was a bit of a period. The first sort of 3 weeks or so, I was there, but I was doing so much admin, running around the school trying to transfer all my classes from the previous school and all the stuff that goes with it. I didn't really have much time to practice, and then they throw you straight into qualifying for the first tournament of the year. So that was 6 rounds of qualifying against what was now a team of 10 versus 6 of the previous school, and 10 guys who can all play golf. So I didn't actually qualify for the first couple of tournaments, which was a little bit like, come here to play golf in some bigger tournaments, and now I'm sat on the bench. Should I really have come? Maybe I shouldn't have come. No, I didn't really think that. I just kind of got down to work and practicing. I've always been a hard worker on the golf course, and it fixed things up, and I was in the team for the remainder of the year once I was in.
And I'd love to, I think, this finish off where you are as a pro and what you did as a pro before you supposed to transition into a coach. But I'd love to get your reflection as a coach on that system.
Yeah, we can talk more. Like you said, you asked me about the training, obviously, and I can tell you a little bit about that too.
Yeah, let's hop in now. Yeah, what was good, and then what now? I suppose do you reflect on as maybe like you'd like to see differently?
I think it was very good overall. It was very hard work. I sometimes liken it to. I've never been in the military, but both my parents were in the Navy. And I can see some parallels between, being in the military and playing sport at college. 4 days a week, I think, we would have workouts. And that was before class, so we'd start at 6 a.m., which meant 5:30 alarm, 4 days a week in the gym. Pretty, good, hard, intense workouts. Same sort of, it was the same. We usually have the same strength coach as the American football team and the basketball team and the baseball team. So it wasn't.
There's no let off there. No.
It was just because we were golfers, we weren't getting an easy ride or anything. And a lot of the kids were it took them aback a little bit. I've always been very physically active, and both my parents were PTIs in the Navy, so physical training instructors in the Navy. So it was normal. It was normal for me, business as usual. But a lot of the kids found that quite a challenge.
Give me more pull-ups.
Yeah, especially doing it at 6 a.m. in the morning too. Someone screaming it. That wasn't maybe what they all grew up with. But yeah, it put hairs on your chest for sure. And then you're into class from, you'd have class in the mornings. So the way that the colleges are set up, they obviously when the class is open and people sign up, all the students get to sign up, but they allow the athletes actually to sign up first, so they can choose exactly which class they want to be in, so that they get their classes at the right time of day. So then when the afternoon comes around, 2 o'clock usually, we'd have practice for 2 till 6, usually almost every day. And some days that would be at the facility, the practice facility that the school had, which it might be a short game session, it might be choose your own practice, practice whatever you feel like you need to work on, you go and do that. Or it might be you're playing this golf course today and it's qualifying for the next tournament. But yeah, it was really good. And there was, like I said, with the qualifying, well, you're constantly in competition with people around you. Yeah, it's a good way to sharpen, keeps you sharp,
I think that's one of the biggest things that golfers can do is play with really great people and test themselves, isn't it? When I was speaking to Jamie Mole, he was saying that it was like best advice for young people is just get out, go test yourself, highest possible stage. And I think the States, super competitive, really proper setup.
That's one of my biggest observations that I've found from being in the States versus being in England. I think England, my experience of English golfers, young English golfers versus young American golfers. The English golfers always had very nice, pretty swings. And then you'd go to America. I went to America, and I was like, "What is that? What are they doing?" But the ball's going in the hole.
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's what they do. They when they're growing up, they go to the first tee. They might warm up, but it's to warm up. It's to loosen off. And they go to the first tee, and they have how much we're playing for. And then they go, and because there's that money on the line, they don't care what it looks like, really. And that's definitely informed the coaching that I do now, I think.
So it's always interesting to hear like people's journey and how that informs their coaching.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you got any take on, I suppose, this sort of Scandi-Danish scene that we're seeing? So they're all technically incredibly good. You've got Hogard brothers. We've also got Ludwig Aberg as well.
So I've recognised that, and they're very good at getting the ball in the hole, but they also have the technique bit in place too, and that's why I think they're having a lot of success. I was in Denmark 3-4 weeks ago, caddying for Brandon on the Challenge Tour, and we played with a young lad called Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, and I got to ask him a little bit. We played a few rounds, and then we got to ask him about the program that he's been grown up as a part of. And I was lucky enough, even a few years ago, I caddied on the Challenge Tour for Chase Koepka. And I was out there for about 6 weeks. And in those 6 weeks, probably played maybe about 6 rounds of golf with Rasmus Højgaard too.
Wow. He's impressive.
That when he was 18. And him and his brother were both on the Challenge Tour, and they were kind of the talk of the town almost. Even on that same little 6-week stint, I caddied with the same group as Garrick Higgo too, and that was and there was 2 after those 6 weeks. I wrote down 2 names in my phone. I was like Højgaard and Higgo, and then fast forwarded 2 years, and they were both winners on the tour. And maybe I can see it. Maybe you can see it when you see it almost.
Well, yeah, I think there are some. It's tough to make it on tour, but there's some players that are so good they just will make it on tour. I think Q School's a bit of a lottery, but
and usually you can also tell, if they've got the outside elements in place. They may be you got talented golfers, but if they've got the program around them, the people around them, they're going to keep them on the right track. Then it's a good likelihood they're going to do well for themselves. It seems like.
Let's move forward because I want to be respectful of your time, and we've got a lot I want to cover. So, do you want to give people a run through of, I suppose, you turn pro, and then I suppose you're pro now. You're sort of a caddy coach.
Well, I'm actually still pursuing the game playing wise too, Will.
You're juggling.
Yeah, had a bit of a difficult run, honestly. It's been like things pulling me in different directions, life getting in the way, a little bit of that, and combination of that, and honestly, like lack of funding has been a bit of an obstacle for me. When I was preparing to turn pro, I had no real clue about the how the costs differ from amateur golf to professional golf. Vastly different. I didn't realize that all these pros that I see out there, or I say all of them, the ones that are below, let's say, the top 200 in the world, almost all of them have got people behind them, backing them financially. I was completely oblivious to that fact, honestly, when I turned pro. And then I turned pro, and then I soon realized, soon learned what was happening. With hindsight, I would probably have stayed in America. So after my 4 years, I was ready to take a break from America or Americans. I've got a lot of friends that are Americans, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the whole lot of them almost together. But I was, so like I said, with hindsight, I probably should have stayed in America because the resume that I had, it was good. I won another tournament in my last one, so that was 8 tournaments won, and there are not many people in college, in NCAA Division I college especially. And that resume would have spoken a lot more to American people. They would have understood what that meant and that I was a good player. I came back to the UK and I told them I won these college tournaments. They didn't know what that meant. They didn't have a clue really what that even meant. So it didn't mean anything. When it came to asking someone to give me £20,000 so I can go and pursue my professional career, they obviously wanted to know what I'd been and what I'd done. And yeah, like I said, when I showed them that, it didn't really have any weight.
No, I think over here we've got handicaps are useless these days. We've got the WAGR, and then unless you're in the Brabazon, the British Am, and
well, you can say I played for England. Somehow I'm always like, it's difficult. It's difficult.
So what's your mix at the moment? You're playing and trying to compete. You're caddying.
So in the last year, I've been injured a lot. So, and just in the last 3-4 weeks, I've started playing again, practicing again, and I'm about to just try and get in some tournaments for the second half of the season.
Cool. In Europe or in America?
I think in all of it, I'm saying, yeah. So I've just done my PGA training. I've just about to complete it, and that gives me access to a lot of tournaments too, which are a lot cheaper to enter to, which is good. It's good. With regard to coaching, I started coaching to honestly just to like help fund my playing career. I've done what I've done. I did some caddying just to sort of fill in some gaps before. Started coaching maybe about 4 years ago. To help, like I said, to help fund my playing career. And I've always felt like I could help people get better at golf. When I was at uni in the States, often my teammates would kind of come to me and ask, "Can you have a quick look at this for me?" Because the coach in America, they're more like managers. Let's say they're not necessarily swing coaches or golf performance coaches. They do have a good idea, and they play when we're at the tournaments. They do float between the golfers and kind of play their role of like a caddy, I would say. But they're not always technical coaches, let's say. And like I said, some of my teammates would come to me for advice. I always felt like I was able to help them. So yeah, that's when I started coaching. I did quite well. I had a few pros come and ask me for some help, and that's how I got in touch with Brandon Robertson Thompson, and there's got a few other guys that I'm currently helping out a bit too.
And then I saw on Instagram a little while ago you suddenly pop up at the US Open at Pinehurst. So you were caddying for Brandon at that event? He qualified.
Caddying for Brandon, exactly.
What was that like? That was one of my favorite majors to watch in a long time. I loved the setup. It looked brutal, but yeah, what was it like?
It was great. Well, yeah, amazing, amazing. But when I caddied for Brandon when he qualified. He qualified at Walton Heath in the they have a separate qualifier that's kind of a reserve for European Tour players and the higher ranked Challenge Tour players. And he tied for first at that event. And when it kind of was official, we were like, it's Pinehurst as well, which is kind of like qualifying for the Open at St Andrews a little bit. I think it's one of the better ones. They're all good US Opens. They're always good to qualify, but we kind of looked at it as one of the better ones you could qualify. I think USGA. Well, the World Golf Hall of Fame's just moved to Pinehurst too, and it's a bit of a hub for golf. Have you ever been to Pinehurst?
Never. No, no, no. Never play golf stateside. So they, I hear they've got like 12 golf courses or 15 golf courses or something. Obviously,
I think Pinehurst has, but then there's golf courses all around, and probably within 5 miles or so, 5 miles square, there's probably 30 golf courses, and it's just golf. Everyone that's there is there for golf.
unreal. So what did that look like? What was your preparation like? Because I think this is a great insight. How did you prepare for that with Brandon? And then what was it like trying to compete? What went well, and what maybe did you learn?
Um, with regard to preparation, what do you mean exactly? Well, sorry.
So I think when I've got players coming up for a big event, I'm starting to think, okay, well, what do we need to do to perform? What's our goal? What's the stroke average we're going to look at? Right. What's the history we've got on each hole? What are some of the challenges we have? What are some of the opportunities? And then think, well, what shots do we need to prepare and get good at? Is it wedge game? Is it a lot of hybrids off the tee? Do we just need to bomb it with driver? That tends to be what I'm looking at. And then we're trying to build a strategy so that when we get to the practice round, we have a strategy to test rather than try and figure that out when we're in our practice round, which is what a lot of good amateurs do. So yeah, I suppose, is there anything like that?
We qualified, and it's you don't get loads of time. It's I think it was just over 2 weeks from qualifying. Qualified on a Tuesday. 2 weeks later on the Thursday with the event starting. So you don't get loads of time to plan. And Brandon also we went straight to Denmark from that qualified, straight to Denmark for a Challenge Tour event. So half of the Brandon's mind was on US Open, and then half of it was on playing in Denmark. He didn't play his best golf in Denmark necessarily. I think part of that was because of the fact that he's just qualified for the US Open, honestly. It's understandable. But preparation-wise, we were on YouTube watching every golf YouTuber that's recently played at Pinehurst and filmed it. I was trying to get an idea of what the golf course looked at. Watching all flyers, watching Martin Keimer win in 2014 around there, trying to get an idea of what to expect really.
Unreal.
And we know that the greens at Pinehurst are just like this, like a little hill with about a 10 foot by 10 foot square in the middle where you can actually hit the ball. So we kind of knew that was what we were looking at, and yeah, just I tried to write a few things down for Brendan. Not too much. Some things to go away and practice. Short game shots where the landing surface is 8 to 10 feet above where the ball is. Onto firm greens, very fast greens. The Tuesday of the US Open in the practice round, the greens were 15.2 on the stimp meter.
Whoa.
Yeah. They did slow them down for the tournament, but I think they were kind of seeing how far they could push it. And yeah, it was a little crazy, honestly. It's difficult. Sometimes difficult to take the putter back just short enough to get it for the stroke, really.
That you go home and find like a piece of marble to practice on after that, don't you? You just think, wow.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
It was unreal to watch, and I think that came through on the TV was how unbelievably challenging it was around the greens, but then hitting into those greens, you had such a tiny area. Was it even harder when you're there in real life, just thinking, that's a near perfect golf shot and it's ended up in a bunker?
Oh, yeah. And there are just times when you stood in the fairway and you're looking at the green, I'm thinking, where do I have to hit this? Yeah. You look at the book and it tells you where you should hit it. Then you kind of look up to where that is, and you think, okay, well, I just have to trust that the ball will. That's where I'm got to try and hit it, and that is a lot of what it takes. I think it takes a lot of trust. Um, I'll have a lot of patience and discipline, a lot of aiming away from flags, even on sort of chip shots. And that was probably the biggest difference to what you'd have in a normal tournament. You know, sometimes you from the fairway, you say you're 150 yards out, pin over on the right, and there's water to the right of it. You'll aim 5 or 6 yards left of it, or wherever it might be. And that's one thing that I think amateurs making a transition to pro have to learn to do. They have to learn to ignore that flag up there and shift their target and put all their attention over there into the middle of the green. That point has to that applied on chip shots. You know, so you'd be 10 yards away from the hole and say, okay, I'm saying to Brandon, this is Caddy, we're just going to play this like 3 yards left of the hole here, yeah, and just chip it to 9-10 feet and take what we get. And if we hold the putt, then great. And if we make a bogey, then it's no real damage done.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And is that just the slope close to the other side of it would have just taken it off the green?
Exactly, yeah. So if there was a slope that was a couple of yards to the right of it, then you make way to that. Often sort of, the greens were very grainy. So, if the grain was going from left to right, let's say, and you chipped it, the ball might take a bit of a bounce to the right. And then it didn't take much for it to then just end up going off the green, and you leave yourself an even harder chip than you started with. So yeah,
it's such a cool experience, and it's so cool to hear about it from you as well. I really want to be respectful of your time and appreciate you coming on here. So I think just to wrap up with, if we could have some, I suppose advice for younger players thinking about turning pro, and what you think is important, what they may not know about, and then I'd like to hear about, I suppose, reflection on where you are currently and your plans moving forward with your golf would be awesome to hear.
My best advice would be just get a little bit better each day. You don't need to chase big 5% gains in performance from a change in approach, a change in swing theories, and all these sorts of stuff. There is some every now and again, I would say, seeing, let's say, going in a different direction with a coach or something where the idea or what you're attempting to do mechanically is drastically different to what you have been trying to do. I think that probably only really happens if what you've been doing already is drastically wrong, honestly, which is quite rare. I think nowadays there's so much information available that most coaches are going to have a reasonable idea what to do, and you'll be better off just kind of believing in what you're doing rather than trying to find answers from other places. Honestly, I think that the social media today, obviously, it's always throwing these different things in your face. And you see one guy win on the PGA Tour one week, doing it one way, and then another guy doing it a different way the next week, and another guy doing it a different way the next week. And when you're in that space where you're constantly trying to get better all the time, every single day, ways that you can get better, it's so easy to get sidetracked by different, like I said, different swing theories, different ideas that are thrust in, they're in your face all the time. And so, yeah, like I said, if you can work on just getting a little bit better each day. I try my best to stick to the things that I kind of know are going to get me better, rather than the things that might get me better. And that, again, that kind of comes back to swing changes versus, like, maybe I can just go and chip the ball a little bit closer. I don't have to change my swing to become a shot better for the round necessarily. can work on my putting, on my chipping, or it might be my long game, but then I just like work on controlling the club face or hitting the middle of the club face a little bit better. Um, all those things. If I hit the middle of the club face more often, I'll get better at golf, and that's something you can almost guarantee. Whereas I could go and I might go and consult Sean Foley or Butch Harmon or whoever it is, and that might make me better. It might. And so, first and foremost, I would just go with the things that I know are going to. I would try and go towards those areas and spend my time on the areas that I know will get me better, or they've got the best chance of getting me better, rather than these. I may go down this road, and then 2 years later, I might find out that this actually wasn't the right path for me to go down. I see that happening a lot with players' careers. They go searching for the big improvement.
I think that's great advice. And for me, the big thing I keep telling players when I was head of golf at X Uni is stats. What do your stats say? Because we've got strokes gain data now, and what it essentially tells you is if you can hit it further and keep it in play, you can hit more greens, you can hole more putts from certain ranges, and you can get up and down. You'll be good. So yeah, the further you get away from scoring, the more abstract and the more chance you have of going wrong. So I think that's great advice. And then what about yourself? Just to wrap up, I suppose you've got all of this experience. I hope the injuries heal up as well. I know you bomber. I did see an Instagram video when I was preparing for this, supposedly saying that your club head speed is 130 with driver.
It can be. Yeah. I tend not to go that high on the course. I don't think it gets that. It may do when I'm really swinging it well. Probably in the high 120s on the golf course.
There's James Wiltshire dropping that bomb. So I see.
I can swing it over 130 miles an hour, but I wouldn't. I tend not to not when I'm especially if I'm playing a competitive round of golf.
So what's your goal? How do you frame your golf and what your plan is for getting better after all of these experiences?
It's like I said, it's focusing. I don't have all the time in the world like I used to have. I used to practice like a madman at times. I do 5 hours just on the short game area, then move on and do putting and hitting balls for hours. And if I could go back, I would definitely change the way I was approaching it. Not so much the amount of time. I probably didn't need to spend as much time on it. But what I did with that time, for sure, I would do a little bit different. And there'd be more. I would try to make it more like what happens on the golf course. If I could summarize, I would go through my routine each time. I would try to record the result as often as I possibly could. I would try to randomize my practice a lot more, I would say. Like I said, because in golf, actually, the actual sport that we play is you hit a driver, then you hit a 7-9 or a 9-9 or something, and then you hit a chip shot, and then you hit a putt. All the lies might vary, and the slopes might vary on each of those shots. Apart from the tee shot, obviously. Tee shot is, like I say, the most closed skill of the bunch. But outside of that, golf is a very open skilled sport. There's a lot of variables, a lot more than most sports, I would suggest. It starts just because we play. There's different golf course. Every golf course is different, which is different to most sports, isn't it? And then you can keep adding layers of complexity to it. But yeah, like I said, it's a very open skill and very random. What each time you hit a shot, it's almost like it's a new thing in itself from any shot you've ever played before. It might be similar, but you can probably find some differences. Yeah. So my practice, like I said, not now on, but in recent times, I find, like I said, if I could go back and do it a little differently, it would be a bit more like that.
That's awesome. And I think it fits in well with a quote. One of the favorite quotes I have from biomechanics is a guy, Nikolai Bernstein, who is an unbelievable scientist in Russia. And he coined practice. He said, practice is repetition without repetition.
Wow.
And yeah. I mean, that's very wise. And I think that applies so much to golf.
We both know Mark Boll And Mark was I always remember Mark saying you can never step in the same river twice. And it always sticks with me.
That's super. I'm going to steal that one. Hey, Ryan, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you giving me a little platform today. And it's just amazing that someone wants to hear what I've got to say.
So where can people find you? If they want to get in touch, where's best to come find you?
Yeah, I have an Instagram account. I'm not the best at updating it. That's not my strong point, social media, but I try to do a little bit of that. And if you want to get hold of me, I'm Ryan Fricker Golf. Yeah, that would be the best way to do it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, buddy.
Thank you, Will. Thanks so much.